Hello, 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 everyone.
We are Mike and Tess Play, and welcome back to Pokemon FireRed version.
Last time we learned about
Ordinary in-game mechanics.
ordinary in-game mechanics.
And this time, we're going to be talking about something that I've never seen covered before. In advanced in-game mechanics. That is, game mechanics that are normally considered for more the competitive scene, competitive Pokemon playing, and the meta game. But each one of those mechanics does have its place in-game. So I just want to kind of... I've put together this little guide of... Yes, it was. Of just, hey, here are why these things matter for an in-game reason specifically. So let's start with the most basic of these, nature. Every Pokemon has a specific nature. The nature that they have, and you can see the nature if you'd pull up the summary once more. You can see each Pokemon's nature right in their summary screen.
Oh, my bad.
There we go.
I'm staring at the dog.
Yes. So you can see Pi here has a mild nature. If you go to the next one, Dennis is relaxed. So the nature that they have directly impacts the Pokemon's growth potential in 2 out of the 5 main stats, with HP being excluded here. HP is not affected by nature. 1 stat is affected positively, and 1 stat is affected negatively. This is the most frequent of the advanced mechanics to actually have an effect on an in-game playthrough, since the differences can be quite large and can be easily noticed on a member of your team. The effects of a Pokemon's nature can either be positive, which will be referred to as a plus nature, negative, referred to as a minus nature, or just neutral. A plus nature for any particular stat gives that stat a 10% boost, while a minus nature takes away 10%, and a neutral nature does nothing. So any stat that is not listed as a plus or a minus is therefore neutral. Now, before we move on to why this is so important, here are, and we're going to throw it up on screen, a list of the natures and what they do. We've organized it in a way that shows the benefits, really. So for plus attack, you have Adamant, Brave, Lonely, and Naughty. Adamant is minus special attack, Brave is minus speed, Lonely is minus defense, and Naughty is minus special defense. In the benefiting defense category is Bold, which is also minus attack, Impish, which is minus special attack, Lax, which is minus special defense, and Relaxed, which is minus speed. For the plus speed natures, we have Hasty, which is minus defense, Jolly, which is minus special attack, Naive, which is minus special defense, and Timid, which is minus attack. For plus special attack, we have Mild, which is minus defense, Modest, which is minus attack, Quiet, which is minus speed, and Rash, which is minus special defense. And then for plus special defense, we have Calm, which is minus attack, Careful, which is minus special attack, Gentle, which is minus defense, and Sassy, which is minus speed. That leaves 5 other natures which are fully neutral, because they are both plus and minus the same stat, so it evens out. The 5 neutral natures are Bashful, Docile, Hardy, Quirky, and Serious. Now, you might think that you won't notice a mere 10% change to a Pokemon's stats, and overall for an in-game team, I would have to agree with you. A plus nature in a stat that is helpful for your Pokemon is great to have, but not necessarily needed. However, you would notice the decrease from a minus nature, especially in a stat you need. Have you ever just missed a KO you thought you would get based on typing and move power?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, if your Pokemon was a minus nature for that move's offensive stat, then just having a neutral growth rate for that stat would have made that difference. And when you compare a plus nature to a minus nature, that's more like a 20% difference, which, okay, actually, if mathematically it's a 22.222 bar repeating percent difference, but, who's counting?
Yeah,
math?
Who's counting that?
Yeah. So the importance of a Pokemon's nature in-game is not exactly to make sure that your Pokemon has the right nature or even the best nature, like it would be in the metagame, but it is about making sure that you don't have the wrong nature. There are, of course, degrees to this. Let's again look at our team.
Well,
we're in the box. But we're going to go over each one of our team members' natures and how it's actually affected them during the playthrough of this game. So, starting once again with Pi. Pi is a mild nature. That means his special attack has been raised. I'm going to need it on the original. Yeah. Oh, no, you were right. His special attack is higher than would normally be, but his defense is lower. This has been great for Pi because, well, he's a special attacker, so being able to do more damage is great. And his defense, well, he's taken more damage from physical defense than we might expect.
Are they colored? Or
No,
am I
they're
just...
not.
Okay.
Not in this game. In later generations, they will be.
No, what are the colors? Because they're backwards than what I think they should be.
In later generations, if a stat has a slight red tint, that is its plus, and if it has a slight blue tint, that is its minus.
Tell me that you wouldn't think that's reversed. Like, red should be minus and blue should be plus.
Yeah, red's usually bad and blue's usually good.
Yeah, but it's reversed in this.
It is reversed.
And tell me how I built a whole team thinking that red was bad. Yes, you can laugh.
Yeah, I wasn't clear enough when I explained that to you. That's on me. But moving on to the next...
In fairness...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a forgetful goldfish. We've gone over this before.
That's fair. But this is actually why, in the very beginning, we caught a different Pi. He was a minus special attack nature. So when I caught a new Caterpie, I wasn't looking for the plus that I got. I just lucked into it. I was just looking for neutral there. Dennis, meanwhile, is relaxed, which, looking at our chart here, means he is plus defense and minus speed. Machamp isn't a very fast Pokemon anyway, so having better defenses along the way has been very helpful. Sir Oz, also relaxed nature. This is probably the worst nature on the team, because he's again plus defense minus speed, but Dodrio isn't a great defender anyway. Even with that positive, he's only got 92 defense. He still has 109 speed, but that could be much higher if he just had a neutral nature in speed. However, his most important stat is his attack power. He only needs one more point in speed to outspeed an opposing Pokemon. Doesn't matter how much you outspeed them by. But attack is much more relevant because it's how much damage he does, because he can't take hits all that well. So having it just be minus his second most important stat wasn't all that vital. Still wouldn't recommend it, but, well, you know, when you're trying for things. Bolt here is the most extreme example that we've seen, though. He is lonely nature, which means he is plus attack and minus defense. If you look at his stats, Blastoise has significantly better defense than attack. The base stats are 105 compared to 83, if I'm recalling right off the top of my head, and yet Bolt's attack is better than his defense. It's actually one of his best stats. This is entirely due to nature. Other factors may have played a part here, but this is the biggest example on screen that you can see of the role nature plays. He goes from a great defender with lower attack to better attack than defense. Again, this was, I saw it as more of a positive for Bolt. It means that his physical coverage moves are going to do more damage, where, again, we should not have given him 3 special attacks. I explained the reasoning for that, with his special attack being lower, but his defense, he had enough to spare, so I didn't mind losing out on that. If it had been, say, minus special attack that he really needs, probably we wouldn't have gone there. Bashful for Carly is a neutral nature. Neutral natures are great in-game. I honestly, most of the time, I just want to have a neutral nature. Sure, you're not getting a benefit, but you're not getting a decrease. And for a Pokemon like Carly, just everything she's good at everything, so she's pretty even across the board, so her stats are based on other factors, and her base stat totals being important here. So, you know, she's well-rounded across the board, and she's not being hurt by her nature in any which way. Zinc is naughty. This is another case, because naughty is plus attack, great for Zinc, but minus special defense, which is his second best stat. It works out for Zinc because he doesn't need his special defense to be all that great, but more attack power is what he wants, and boy, look at that attack stat. That is massive.
Whoops.
So, you know, again, in this particular case, we took the boost to his most important stat and the decrease to his second most important stat. Arguably, for a Flareon, special attack is actually more important. I was looking for not minus attack or special attack here. So
and at any point, we would have found a new Pokemon, or with the starter's case, we would have reset the whole game. If
we caught a new one, or if it was a truly bad nature, we either caught a new one or would have hit reset. We didn't for either Bolt or Zinc, but you know,
we would have.
We would have.
And when we're playing personal files, we restart all the time.
Yeah, just to make sure of that. So yeah, that's how that works. And so my advice is, when adding a new Pokemon to your team, just make sure that the nature they have will not negatively affect your experience with them. Sometimes, like with a Mix Attacker, again, having a nature that leans one way can determine the moves you teach them. If you're not sure, should this be a special attacker or a physical attacker, if they've got a boost or a minus in one, well, there's your answer. And again, honestly, I am always happy to see a fully neutral nature pop up, since in-game, that just gives you the most options for the Pokemon. And now we're going to throw on the words that are the most relevant to competitive and not for in-game. Effort values. Shortened to EVs. And yes, that is confusing. Because, you know, like EV?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question is, what are EVs? To break it down as simply as I can, experience isn't all that is gained when you knock out a Pokemon. Any Pokemon who gained experience from the battle, including experience share Pokemon, at least in this generation, will also gain an effort value, shortened to EV, based upon the Pokemon battled against. Each Pokemon will give out an EV in either a particular stat or multiple stats, and that range will go from 1 EV earned to 3 EV earned in total. It never exceeds 3 EV earned in total, although that can be 1, 1, 1, and 1, 1, and 1. All Pokemon who participated receive the same number of EVs. It isn't split up like experiences. But what does that mean? Here's the breakdown. For every 4 EVs earned in a specific stat, the Pokemon who earned them will gain an additional 1 point in that stat at level 100. This will be done incrementally throughout the level up process, so these increases will show up as you train your Pokemon. They will just not be guaranteed to gain an extra point in that stat on each level up, even if you have gained the EVs necessary to do so, but they will gain them along the way to level 100. There is, however, a maximum number of EVs which can be earned, both overall and in each particular stat. Not in the first generation, that was broken, not the topic for the day. But in the majority of all Pokemon games, including this one, an individual Pokemon can only gain 510 EVs in total, and it maxes out at 255 EVs for an individual stat. As you might have noticed, neither of those numbers divides evenly by 4, and the calculations do round down no matter what. So even if you have an extra 3, it's just going to round down. You're never going to get that 4th. Or you're never going to get the boost like you would have gotten a 4th. So the maximum number overall is really 508 EVs that actually do have an effect, which at level 100s totals 127 stat points. Meanwhile, for an individual stat, the progress stops at 252 EVs, which equals 63 points in that one particular stat by level 100. So you can kind of see what role that plays.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So used in competitive battling, maximizing a Pokemon's 2 most important stats with 252 EVs in it, and then adding 4 to another stat like HP or something is very common. For an in-game team, however, this seems just a bit unlikely. Okay, so it's pretty much impossible unless you're going for it specifically, which you probably aren't going to do. So what does this mean for in-game players? Not terribly much, but it can explain certain things. If, for example, you have a Pokemon with higher base special attack than attack, but that Pokemon has higher attack power than special attack, and nature is not to blame, then the EVs they have earned so far are likely a big cause in that. Bolt has clearly gained many attack-based EVs because even just the 10% boost that he's getting to attack wouldn't cause the big difference to, say, his special attack. He's clearly gained less special attack EVs along the way. In addition, the vitamins give a quick 10 EV boost to a particular stat, but in most generations, including this one, this caps when the Pokemon hits 100 EVs in that stat in total, not just from the vitamins overall.
Whoa.
The vitamin for each is HP up boosts HP, protein boosts attack, iron boosts defense, calcium boosts special attack, zinc boosts special defense, and carbos boosts speed. EVs can also influence grinding. I kind of hinted to this in our grinding video earlier, but say you are training a psychic type who needs special attack and does not need physical attack power for any reason. Fighting a trainer with many Machop or Machoke might seem like an easy solution for quick, easy battles. It's a super effective move, kapow. But Machop give attack EVs, which are useless for a psychic type attacker. So it might be better to find, say, a trainer with Oddish who gives special attack EVs and might be just as easy to KO, even if they might not give as much experience. Knowing who to fight might not be practical for ordinary trainer battles, but for grinding, when you're really picking and choosing who fights what, it can certainly give you something to consider. The Magikarp trainer, for example. I said he was important, and he is, because Magikarp gives 1 speed EV. And you're just using random vitamins. Okay, that works. And
I just wanted to show what it looked like.
Yeah.
I thought that was important while also knocking over my water.
That is all true. Very true. But the Magikarp trainer who has 6 Magikarp, if you fight all 6 of them, that's 6 EVs, or more than 1 full stat point. So that's why I switched in Sir Oz, who needs speed more than anyone else, due to his minus speed nature and relying on speed, to fight the Magikarps. It was not just, oh, I'm going to use my weakest move. It was intentional because, oh, okay, this is the Magikarp guy. I want to give a full speed stat point to one of my Pokemon. If you want... Oh, wait, actually, before I get there, there are some places, mostly in post-game scenarios, where opposing trainers will have EV-trained Pokemon. This is not very common, especially in the earlier gens, but the later gens have been doing it much more frequently
Cynthia.
along the way. Cynthia. BDSP they were absolutely fully maxed out. Those are certainly worth grinding specific EVs for, especially areas like Battle Frontiers or Battle Towers, anything like that. They're going to be EV trained, especially towards the end, so they're worth it. And this is where the Macho Brace kicks in. You may recall, if you'll pull up our item bag and go to the very bottom of the first tab there. Oh, wait, no, we passed it. There it is.
I wasn't looking. You said go to the bottom.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
I was wrong. The Macho Brace was the item that we item findered where Giovanni once stood. This item, any Pokemon holding it, will gain double the EVs earned after each battle, only in battle, although it does cut their speed in half during that battle. So that's what it means by the growth rate. It doesn't affect vitamins, it's just in battle, if it would have gained 1 speed EV from a Magikarp, now it gains 2. So that's the purpose of that item. It's specifically related to effort value training. If you want to grind EVs, we're going to throw a chart up here for the best places to EV train in each particular stat in this game. For HP, it's the hardest one. For FireRed version and Leaf Green version, really, it's actually right where you are in the Viridian Forest. The Viridian Forest, Caterpie appears at 40%, and he gives 1 HP EV and nothing else. Leaf Green also has Route 3 with a 14% Nidoran female, which gives 1 HP EV, and Jigglypuff appearing at 10% of the time, who gives 2 HP EVs. So, I mean, FireRed can do it too, it's just a little less of a percentage. But I'm going for the areas that have most commonly, okay, you're just going to run into mostly a Pokemon who gives a specific EV. If you're going for attack, the middle floor of Mount Moon. It has Paris, who gives 1 attack EV at 100% of the time. You can also have the mushrooms to grind with Thief if you want to do so it's kind of a 2-in-1 spot there. But if you're looking for attack EVs, that's the place to do it in this game. If you're looking for defense, Route 21's Grass. Tangela gives 1 defense EV and nothing else. Can't do any better than 100%. Special attack, the Pokemon Tower, which we're in suddenly. The Pokemon Tower's 3rd floor has Ghastly at 90% encounter, who gives 1 special attack EV, and Haunter, 1% of the time, will give 2 special attack EVs. Special defense, Route 19 Surfing. Tentacool, 100% of the time, gives 1 special defense EV. And if you're looking for speed, Route 1, the first route in the game. Both Pidgey and Rattata, who are the only encounters there, give 1 speed EV each.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That's the breakdown if you're looking for the specifics.
Every time I go up a step, I accidentally go back down the step.
I know.
Sorry.
It's okay. Now, the other thing to consider with EVs is something extraordinarily rare. Pokerus. Pokerus is seen as a Pokemon virus? Yeah, I know.
I've never heard of that before.
Never. It's very rare. It's actually rarer than a shiny Pokemon to have Pokerus. But... Does
your Pokemon die?
No. No, it's a virus, in quotes, that helps them. Because any Pokemon afflicted with Pokerus will double the EVs it earns while that Pokerus is active. And that stacks with the Macho Brace, and in later generations, this actually continues even after the Pokemon's been cured. And the Pokerus does spread to other Pokemon in your party. So it's only active for an indeterminate time, so take advantage if the very rare case that shows up, you would see it in the Pokemon's status screen. And also, when you go to heal at the Pokemon Center, Nurse Joy will tell you if your Pokemon is experiencing Pokerus. So that's how you tell. Again.
Have you ever had it happen?
Once.
Wow.
I have, in my Pokemon playing career, I have seen like 7 shiny Pokemon at this point, and Pokerus 1 time. So, yeah. The other...
How do you heal it?
It just goes away on its own.
Got it.
Time. Yeah. And the Pokemon only benefit from it. It's just, hey, I get stronger now. Whee! The last advanced in-game mechanic that can have a factor in-game is individual values, which are shortened to...
IVs!
There it is! Hey, that's awesome. An IV is determined when a Pokemon is initially caught. It cannot be adjusted until much later generations. Those are what those bottle caps and gold bottle caps are for. They're worth more than anything else in the game. Never use them for anything other than what they're for. But anyway.
I sell them.
Yeah.
I sell everything.
Yeah,
Mike doesn't like that.
They're worth more than any other individual item because maximizing an IV is impossible to do through any other method. But in generation, every individual value, at least for this game and any future Pokemon games, an individual value comes somewhere between 0 and 31 for all 6 of the major stats, HP included. In Generation 3, before Emerald version, there is no natural way within the game to determine the IV for a Pokemon. There are many calculations for determining your Pokemon's IV stats, so long as you know exactly how many effort values they have so far, because that plays a role in determining stats. And there are calculators that you can find online. Cerebi has one, for example. You know, they have them out there. Breeding can also be used to pass on IVs, but this isn't available before the post-game, and we're only covering in-game uses for these advanced mechanics, so not really go into those. So basically an IV stat is usually not something to worry about in-game. Speedrunners make great use of them, and I have all the respect in the world for speedrunners.
He does. He mentions it
awesome.
Like all the time.
Oh yeah, and I watch speedruns. They're fascinating. I love them. But for the ordinary trainer, the ordinary person playing these games, noticing the difference isn't really going to happen much on an ordinary team. I have no idea what our Pokemon's IVs are. It's just not something that I notice unless I'm building a competitive team. So overall, these advanced mechanics can make quite a large difference when you put them together. You might not notice them at first, but the more extreme the difference between ideal and terrible a Pokemon has in these stat-changing areas, the more you might notice. So we're going to throw up a total stat chart here, just kind of a breakdown of what a stat might look like at level 100. So if a Pokemon has zero IV, a neutral nature toward a stat, and no EVs in it, let's just say they would have 200 points in that stat at level 100. I'm not even sure if any Pokemon can naturally achieve that, but let's just use that as our base. If that Pokemon had the same 0 IVs, no EVs, and a minus nature, that stat would only be 180. The 10% just difference. I heard that, Rock Tunnel. That was cute. But if they have same things,
He only calls me cute when he finds me annoying.
never true. If that Pokemon has 0 IVs, 0 EVs, and a plus nature, the stat would be 220. So a 20-point difference off of the kind of neutral score, but a 40-point difference from that minus nature. If, however, they have 15
We'd be
as
going through
an
this
IV,
dark.
Yeah.
No one has Flash.
Yeah. If they have 15 for the IV, that same plus nature and no EVs, that score jumps to 235. If they have 31 in the IV and a plus nature and no EVs, it jumps to 251. But on the extreme end, if they have 31 as an IV, a positive nature, a plus nature, and 252 EVs, suddenly that stat is 314. So, it is 75% stronger at the maxed out than it would be if it had the no benefits and a negative. That's a massive difference at level 100. In-game, you're probably not going to have those extremes. You're going to have random EVs and random natures and everything. So let's look at that same Pokemon who, at just a neutral with no benefits, would have 200. If we give that Pokemon a 12 IV in that particular stat, a neutral nature, and 87 EVs, that stat's total would be 233. If we give them, however, a 28 in IVs, again a minus nature, and 94 EVs, which is quite a bit, the stat would only be 231. And if we give them 6 for an IV, a positive nature, and then only 46 EVs, so a pretty big breakdown from the higher stats with a minus nature, it will top out at 237. So this is my point. Basically, when you're looking in-game, IVs are not really something you need to worry about much. EVs can play a factor, but really you only want to consider them when using the vitamins or doing grinding. And then nature is actually hugely important. Nature is the only thing that you can control in at least some sense, while being possibly the biggest factor in a Pokemon's particular stat. And that's really how they work for in-game. Most of the time you don't need to worry about them, but sometimes, it can just be really nice to know that, I don't know, your physically attacking Gallade is a calm nature before you try to take on the Battle Frontier with him and realize, oh no, he's doing way less damage than he could be. Again, personal examples.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Wow.
Those are in-game mechanics.
That's crazy. That's so much to know all the time.
Yeah.
But it really, really does help in-game and really just changes your gameplay completely.
Yeah. And the more you know, the more you get out of it, and the easier the game becomes.
It's super true.
So, that's going to do it for this time. And next time, between now and then, we're going to grind our team up to 52.
Yes. You can tell that I have given up on grinding and have just chosen to wander.
Yes.
Yes.
But next time, we take on the Elite Four.
Heck yeah! See you guys then.